Hello, this is Michael from Part-Time's Permies. We are doing part 2 of the Nocino video. Use a neutral grain alcohol, typically vodka, or it could be like grappa or something. It comes out of the northern Italian areas and up into Croatia and areas like that where you'd have walnut trees. So we used our black walnuts, not English walnuts. And if you look at the first video, we took about 1/5 of vodka and infused it with some basic herbs, and spices and cinnamon, citrus. We played around and we took some lesser expensive Irish whiskey, Paddy's brand, which is kind of a lighter caramely flavor. And we did the same thing with just less spices because it already had some flavor. So this has been probably about 6 weeks. So step 2 is, because it's used usually as a digestive or an after dinner, kind of like a cordial, it's sweetened. So looking at the research, there's quite a bit of ways to sweeten it. Some people do it right away at the beginning. Most people do it towards the end at this point where we're going to strain out the walnuts and any debris. We'll add in the sugar and then it will sit for another 6 months to 2 years. And so that's the basic process. So it's actually very simple. Putting the sugar in, it seems like anywhere from about 1 cup up to 2.5 cups of sugar per liter has been used. So it could be really sticky, sweet, syrupy, or it could be less so. We're gonna do 2 cups because we'd like to have it a little on the sweeter side, but we don't want to go crazy. So we have about 1/5 or 1 liter in each of these. So we're gonna do 4 cups of sugar, which I have here. This is just standard sugar. We're gonna add 2 cups of water to this. Now, and we're gonna heat it up and bring it to a boil. I think a heavy syrup for like fruit is 3 cups to 1. I have to go back to my canning, but when you're making like a syrup, simple syrup for cocktail beverages, it's typically 2 to 1, and then it may have a little citrus zest or something. So if you ever, people can buy, the cocktail syrups, but you can make it instead of buying it. So we're gonna use this. The reason we add some water is if you get much more than that, I think it was the 3 to 1 range, it doesn't dissolve very well. You get crystallization, rock candy and such. We want to dissolve this so we don't get a cloudy liquid and, or have the sugar crystals go to the bottom and not dissolve fully, although they will over time, I believe. It's also going to make sure we sterilize it because we're taking a high-proof alcohol, which nothing will grow in it. We've added walnuts, which is diluted a little bit, and now we're going to add water and sugar. And so there'd be a possibility we could get to a low enough alcohol that it could start to grow, yeast or mold. So while that's just warming up, I got it on high. We're gonna bring it to a simmer and typically may cool it down a little bit, but I'm not gonna worry about it too much. So I'm just gonna decant all of the chunks here. By the way, if you're working with an open flame, since this is still a high proof alcohol, keep it away from the flame. What I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna mix this up before I pour it back in here just a little bit. Filter it in here and then leave it alone. We'll cap it down. I'm gonna still check it now, but I'm not expecting good things. Well, I taste cinnamon. It's medicinally. It sort of tastes like strong tea. It's got tannins and bitterness, and I do taste the green from the walnut. It's not nearly as profoundly disgusting as you would think it would be eating a fresh green walnut. It's palatable. I wouldn't say it's great. Cindy's making faces. She thinks it's worse and not less than great.
Yeah.
I have to do the math, but we're bringing the alcohol down to strong but tolerable, and this could be sipped as a small glass, but it's also used as mixers for cocktails, to flavor them, pouring it over ice cream, using it in a variety of ways. So the key is not necessarily to have a high potency alcohol, it's to have a good flavor. The alcohol is needed because it helps in the extraction of all the flavors. Plus it preserves it. And we are not doing any fermentation here. All the fermentation happened in the grain alcohol. And see, this has a slight yellowish color. It's clear. You can keep this simple syrup refrigerated, by the way. You can soak fruit in it, fresh fruit, and hold it. Or use it for canning the light syrups and heavy syrups, or infused for cocktails. It will grow mold if it's left out unrefrigerated and uncapped. Or even if it's capped sometimes. All right. This is extremely hot. It will burn you nicely. Don't touch it. Just give it a stir to make sure it's mixed. It's sweet and tannic and bitter and cinnamony. Man, it tastes a lot. Wow, that tastes like cough syrup. It tastes like an herbal, one of the kids' cough syrups. And you know, all those cough syrups were made out of these old things, and the drug companies picked up these. God, who knew? So this looks awfully clear. I'm not worried about it, but this beer filter funnel has a little plastic filter. Don't pour crazy hot sugar syrup over it, because I bet you're gonna melt it. But I like this. I've had this beer funnel for years for, you know, doing my finishing brew. Before bottling it, just catches some of that little stuff. It's very fine. It says finer than this one. So the next one, same thing. Virtually the same volumes. Gonna dump out, this is the Irish whiskey. Dump that out, add the rest of the sugar syrup to it. And so this had wood age on it. That's, you know, the biggest thing with Irish whiskey is a neutral spirit. Not, I mean, it's different grains, but not too different than a vodka when it starts out. But it goes through all the barrel aging and such, and then actually frequently has a little water added to it to bring down it. Still smells like the Irish whiskey, a bit different. Yeah, so these are greener. They smell more walnuty. I'm not sure. Again, it may fail, but because the Irish whiskey has a little bit of water to standardize the alcohol, bring it down probably in the 80 proof, you know, just a little 5% less or so. I'd have to check those exactly. When you're doing an extraction, having very limited amounts of water, and there's always some water in it, can affect how it pulls out different things, although the water pulls out flavors too. So that could change what's going on. Well, this one didn't have any cinnamon. I had less stuff in it. I think I put the cinnamon because I didn't want to cover up what was already there. So that might be part of the reason I'm tasting more green. Similar, but... Alright, so now we're just going to let them sit. And no, we can't say forget about it because we're not New York, we're not Italian, and this is a Northern European Italian item. This is a Northern Italian item, not Southern. So, alright, Nocino. 1 and 2, and I guess we'll talk to you around Christmas time. Tell you if it's worth the time and expense. There's a bunch of people doing it. I think it'll be fun. It's Michael, part-time Permies, and part 2 is all done.